Welcome to Nighttime Conversations with Steve and Freya, unscripted and unrehearsed. We take on the deeper subjects of love, romance, sex, and personal happiness. I'm Steve McElhone, and I'm with Freya Jordan. Tonight, we're doing a second show with the fabulous Dr. Elizabeth Bonet. She has a long list of credentials and accomplishments, which include a PhD in clinical psychology, a licensed mental health counselor, special certification in hypnotherapy, couples counseling, perinatal mood disorders, and cognitive behavior therapy, which is CBT. She's a founding member of the South Florida Women's Health Alliance and has won numerous awards, including Top 100 Moms in Business. Thank you again for being with us, Dr. Elizabeth. I'm going to start off this conversation by admitting that I've only seen the Hollywood version of what hypnosis is. I don't know what it is. Could you help us understand?
Absolutely. It's a great question. So the simplest explanation of hypnosis that I know, and there, believe me, are lots of them, is that it's a shift from the thinking mind to the feeling mind. So we're getting out of our head and a little more into our heart or our gut. So we're shifting your energy down, and that's important. And physiologically, when they study it, we're shifting brain waves. So when we're, talking, walking, right now we're in beta. And then when we shift into alpha and theta, we're typically going into more of a relaxed state in terms of our brain waves. And that is a hypnotic state as well. Now, some people go all the way down to delta, which is deep sleep, but typically you're not asleep when you're in a hypnotic trance. You're aware, you're awake, just like you are right now, but since you're in a more relaxed state in terms of your brain waves, then this opens doors to your inner self and your memories, and that's important to know.
So we're not talking about somebody with a swinging watch in front of you and making you cluck like a chicken, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no clucking some people can do that. If you look like stage hypnosis, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot of fun with that, but typically if you're going to someone for help, like in my office, then no. I don't want you to cluck like a chicken unless you really want me to make you do that, I can't make anybody do anything, honestly, or else, my kids' rooms would be perfectly clean. Believe me, it is with your consent, it is with your permission, and it is creating what you want to create for your own best self, for your health, and for your healing.
Okay, so I'm hearing a key word there is with my consent. So I assume you mean that if I'm going in there thinking there's no way you can hypnotize me, I'm just not hypnotizable, then I will be right. Is that correct?
Yes and no. So there is some research to say about 15% of the population cannot be hypnotized at all. Like just physiologically, they're not made that way. Other people see hypnosis as a skill. I am one of those people who sees hypnosis as a skill that you learn over time, just like meditation. So you can get much better at it. You can go into trance faster and easier and teach your body and your mind and your brain, basically, it's what you're doing. Teach your brain how to access that state faster and easier. But if you're coming in and saying, I can't be hypnotized, then I would say, okay, what would you like to talk about? And we'd go with cognitive therapy, right? Okay. Like, all right, we'll have a talking session. No problem.
All right. Yeah. My confusion about the whole hypnosis thing is I've only seen the Hollywood version of it, and that's obviously staged, dramatic. It's scripted. It's not the real story.
I've never seen a really good depiction, actually. So, the show Working Moms, which is fantastic. I love the show. It's pretty recent. And there's an evil hypnotist on this show, right? I actually did a whole newsletter about this. And he tries to influence one of the main characters for evil purposes, his own. And it's nothing like that. Like you would be aware. But I will say that the hypnotherapist does have influence over you. So it is important that you pick someone who is ethical, who has good recommendations, who you feel comfortable with. Like in the storyline on the show, this is like an ex-husband. It's like, why in the world would I ever let an ex-husband who is not a friend, hypnotize me, So yeah, that would be my caution to you.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, what does hypnosis have to do with sex? Like, how would you use hypnosis to have better sex?
Yeah, it's a great question. For me, hypnosis and sex is related, if someone wants to use hypnosis for better sex, in terms of being able to access a really aware state, or perhaps to put yourself into, let's say, a quote-unquote trance so that you can be more present. Like we talked about in a previous episode, we were talking about being present, right, during sex. How do you be present? So hypnosis is a way to do that. It can also help you heal. So if you're having things come up during sex that are not pleasant for you, perhaps past trauma, then hypnosis can help you heal that trauma so that it's not presenting itself during sex and disturbing the good sex that you do want to have. How do you use it, Freya? Because I know that you're also trained in hypnosis.
Mm-hmm. Well, with what we talked about last time, the whole being present thing, I teach people what I just call it the sex trance. Uh-huh. And that is being able to deliberately go into a state of mind, which is a trance, where you're completely present and focused on what's happening, and you're also able to access your arousal. So if you can get to that state quickly and easily, or even if it's not quickly, maybe there's a sequence of things that you need to go through, like, okay, I need to relax and breathe for a few moments. I do need to be touched nicely in order to settle down into my body. But once I am, then I reach the sex trance. So that is one thing I would use it for. Another way I would use, and that's in the moment. That's like in the moment.
Yeah, I think you put it much more lovely than I did. Yeah.
But that's in the moment trance. Another thing, which is not in the moment, would be exactly what you described. If somebody has a past trauma or an issue or a belief that's not helpful to sex. So if I believe that only terrible, bad women enjoy sex, mm-hmm. because I heard, those types of girls. And I don't want to be one of those types of women, like those loose, horrible whores that men, like, they don't respect them, and that kind of woman. So of course I'm not, if I don't want to be that kind of woman, I can't enjoy sex and be a good woman at the same time, and that's not a helpful belief to have. So
I think hypnosis is wonderful for that. Like, let's change those beliefs. And to me, it's really like, let's heal some beliefs that are holding you back, and
exactly
where those beliefs came from. So when I'm doing that type of work, we're often going back in time to a younger self. So that younger may be 20, or the younger may be 5. We don't know. But we're going back to a younger self that somehow developed this belief that needs to be healed and rewritten.
So in a way that would be, in language that would be useful for people who are not, because I'm a hypnotist. So when you mm-hmm. say go back in time, I know exactly what that means. But to somebody who doesn't know what that means, and if they have something in their childhood, like a memory of a sexual abuse, or maybe memories of the people talking about how bad sex was, like how bad people who were slutty were, or something mm-hmm. like that. What kind of thing could you do to change that?
Yeah,
as a hypnotist.
Yes. All right. So first we go into a relaxed state, right? Like, let's say you're coming into my office, we're talking about that. We do some clarification about what you do believe right now, what belief you want to change, and how you do want to feel. So we're doing some clarification that in the talking state, right? Just like you and I are talking right here. Mm-hmm. Then the hypnosis part is putting you into a relaxed state, helping you access that. Really, I'm not really putting you there. I don't have any magic tricks, I wish I had a magic wand, right? I can just go ding and you're in a hypnotic trance, but I don't. So I'm helping you get there by talking, by my words, like, go ahead and start to relax your body and concentrate on the breath, or let's think about the hands. I have all kinds of ways to get people there. And then once you're in a relaxed state, we're walking back in time, meaning, all right, let's go back to the most critical memory related to this belief. And amazingly enough, people will have memories pop up. Now, if your hypothesis is it's a traumatic memory, it's not always trauma that comes up, by the way. So sometimes people think that's going to be it, but it doesn't. It's sometimes something else. But my primary concern is to keep someone safe while they're doing that, so they're not re-experiencing trauma, so that they don't feel like it's happening again. And we do have techniques as hypnotherapists to help us keep you safe, like seeing it as if it's in a black and white movie. It creates some distance for people so that they're not re-experiencing it, but yet they do get the information they need. So that's let's say the second phase of that hypnosis, right? First phase would be relaxation. Second would be that exploration. And then the third phase would be doing the healing work, meaning, all right, let's give you suggestions to help you heal that incident, whether it's traumatic or not, help you heal those beliefs, and now giving suggestions for the new beliefs, like sex is enjoyable and fun, or good women enjoy sex as well, or else we'd be here on this planet, or, like whatever those beliefs that person wants. Like when I work with someone, I say it's very important that you make me a list of what you want to feel or who you want to be, like qualities, if they're looking for a partner, what kind of person you want to date, what kind of person you want to be with. Like that is super important. I don't want to create that for a person because I don't want my values placed on them. It's for them to create. And believe me, it is important. I forgot to put like good cook on my list for my husband, and sure enough, he is not the good cook. And I'm like, damn it, why didn't I put good cook on my list? No, I'm just kidding. But I got all the other ones I put on there. I just forgot to put that one on. So does that make sense if I explain it like that? Hopefully.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
Steve, you know less about hypnosis. Did it make sense to you?
It makes sense to me, and I'm still trying to shake that vision of the guy with the pendulum clock, the pocket watch.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to shake that.
Well, I can use a pocket watch on you if you like.
So
whatever works.
I still keep on envisioning the benefits of losing my beliefs that have been limiting me in life, and thinking that maybe hypnosis might be an avenue to do that. Because I'm
the
aware. The
advantage of losing your beliefs that have been limiting you in life.
Yeah.
That's what you just said? What's the advantage of losing your beliefs that have been limiting you in life? So reverse that for me.
So, what I'm
if
thinking
we reversed
about
it.
What do you mean by reversing it?
What would be the advantages, the disadvantages of keeping the beliefs that have been limiting you in life?
Got it, yeah. Yeah, so I'm aware of some of my childhood traumas, and this has happened within the past month where it just hit me like a wall. Like, my goodness, I'm 60 years old and I'm still carrying this. For example, one of them is the not good enough belief. Mm-hmm. I was updating my resume and I was dreading it and feeling terrible and thinking, rather than avoiding this, let me just be with this for a few minutes. Why am I feeling terrible? And the thought came to me that, well, surely somebody's going to read this and think I'm not good enough. And then it hit me, well, I've had numerous successes. Why am I feeling that? But I became aware for the first time that I'm still carrying that not good enough stuff.
Okay, so why would you want to give that up, to ask your same question?
Well, my understanding is that has been affecting various aspects of my life, such as if I'm not working and I'm not looking for work, why is that? I could easily dismiss that as, well, I like my freedom. I like not working. That's a great cover story. But the deeper story is there's this fear of I'm not good enough. So if I try, I'll get rejection and I'll feel terrible.
Okay, so what would be the advantage then of feeling good enough? Like, what would the process be if you felt good enough?
I would then find it much easier to be looking for income from various sources, because I could not fear being afraid of failing or not being afraid of someone declining. Mm-hmm. I could navigate through that more easily with greater ease and just do that and have more income.
Yes. Okay. So an easier, pleasanter process.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Regardless, you might still, if you felt good enough, you might find work that feels good too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that you don't feel like, oh, geez, I have to go to another job that I hate. Like who wants to do that?
You're right. That never occurred to me.
Yeah.
That also relates to the idea of I don't like this job could relate to I don't feel I'm good enough at it. I don't feel people will appreciate me. Therefore, I'm not liking it. So by being able to release that one belief of I'm not good enough, a whole avenue of things opens up.
Absolutely. Including work that you love. Yeah. Let's just put that out there. Or like. Let's go for like, right? Work that you like. Yeah.
I think I might talk to a hypnotherapist at some point. Yeah.
Lucky you. You have 2 on the line right here. Yeah. Okay. So turning that around, then now you could see the advantage of releasing that belief.
Yeah.
Okay. And we do look at, I don't know, Freya, if you do this, but I do look at, is there secondary gain here? So sometimes someone has depression and they've had it their whole life and they can't hold a job, and someone else supports them, and, they're not accountable to do anything because of this depression, right? Now, sometimes that's legitimate. I'm not saying that it's not, but occasionally you start looking further and it's like, oh, well, what would be the advantage of giving that up? I would like for someone to completely support me. I actually like working. The pandemic has taught me that, if nothing else. It's like, oh no, I really love working. I love the structure. I love the conversation. I love the clients. Absolutely. I love working. But let's say someone doesn't, right? And it's like, all right, they found a way through life that they don't have to work at all. They don't have to, help with the house. They don't have to pay bills. They don't have to do, sometimes there's secondary gain there. And so the person has to get clear about, do I want my life to change? Do I want to feel better? All this stuff will change too.
So what I'm hearing now is that there could be a conflict within the mind, and that is, I think I want to do this, but deeper down, there's something saying, no, I want to hang on to it because I've got these secondary gains. I've got people tending to me rather than me having to be self-accountable, and that's very comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And sometimes that often comes from beliefs, I find, that are from childhood. They're not usually in adulthood. They come from deeper than that.
Yet another reason to have a good therapist on your side.
And Elizabeth, that there are, so somebody's thinking, oh, well, maybe I don't want to uncover my beliefs, but actually there are always ways where you can reconcile conflicting beliefs. There are specific activities that a hypnotherapist can do to say, well, I want this, but I also want this, or I want this, but, another part of me doesn't want that because of whatever reason. There are things that you can do to reconcile those two parts and their conflicting wants or their conflicting beliefs. So
absolutely.
It just means you go a little deeper, you spend a little more time, and you do a few more things together.
Yes. Yeah. And we often call that parts work in hypnosis, by the way, or therapy. You can do that without hypnosis. The parts work actually, I don't know when it developed, but it came into more the talk therapy world not that long ago, within the last 10 to 15 years, I would say, where you consciously talk about different parts. There's a part of me that would love to have a husband who cooks, right? But then if I had a husband who cooks, he'd take me out to eat less. I don't know. Maybe that part wants to go out to eat. I don't know. I'm giving a light example here, but absolutely, there's ways to reconcile that, as Freya says, in case you're scared.
And sometimes too, things are a little more vulnerable. If I really let myself enjoy sex, really enjoy sex, and I really wanted it, would I still be able to hold it over my partner's head as this sort of, some people
weapon, right?
Yeah. Some people relish having that control over, I'm the one that doles out the sex. And
it sounds miserable to me.
I know. I know.
I'm trying to picture them. Yeah. Okay. It gives them a sense of power. Is that it?
Yeah. And if I actually wanted it, does that make me more vulnerable to my partner?
So being rejected. Yeah. Yes. For them saying no. Mm-hmm.
And I'm using that just as an example. Not everything is dark. I'm just saying that there are a lot of different things that are even unknown to the person who's experiencing them. So, and that's why hypnosis is so valuable, because you can go deep into those belief systems. You don't have to be aware of what's going on. Your unconscious knows.
Yes.
You may not know, but your unconscious knows.
Yes. And I think a skilled practitioner is able to handle that. So there are absolutely times when in the hypnosis session, I'm grounding the person and we both say, like, that was a surprise, huh? And it's like, yeah, absolutely it was. Like, we didn't know. Wow, that was awesome. So when you have a skilled hypnotist, then they know what to do with that, and they know how to work with that to heal it. And that's a really important piece.
Now, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I'm building up a mental model because you two are both hypnotherapists, so you both understand this thoroughly. And I'm the one guy who's not a hypnotherapist, so I'm trying to build up a model in my mind of what it's about. And before this conversation, I was seeing hypnosis as a sort of a totally separate thing. But after talking with you two, it seems to me that it's not a black or white state where if you have a good therapist, that therapist can help you move towards a state where you're closer to trance or you're more relaxed, and therefore by being more relaxed, you're not quite hypnotized, but you have access to more information in your subconscious mind, and that can come to your conscious more freely. So it's not a black and white thing.
Yes and no. It's not a black and white thing. No. So it's just like when you're falling asleep, right? Let's use that for an example for a minute. You're not just awake or asleep, right? You're getting into bed, you're brushing your teeth, hopefully before you get into bed, right? You're preparing for sleep. You may read a little and start to feel sleepy, and then you close the book and turn off the light or turn off your Kindle, and then you have some moments, some breaths where you're feeling relaxed and you drift off into sleep. And someone could like wake you up in that moment. I'm famous. My kids are famous for this, where they'll come into my room at night and I'll say something completely nonsensical because they think I'm awake and I'm actually asleep, right? But my point there is that there's these different states that your mind moves through. So it's not like, oh, they're awake and they're in hypnosis now. Absolutely not. It is more of a scale. Yes, a gradation. And there are people who don't remember parts of it because they're in a deeper state, and there's people who remember every single word, right? Depending on what type you're doing, whether you're talking during it and talking about memories coming up, whether you're just listening. So a lot of the hypnosis type that I do is where people just listen. That's it. They're not doing talking. I'm Freya, I know you do the same type, right? Where perhaps you're just working on behavior change of weight loss or smoking or something like that, where someone's just listening. That's all. And their brain is integrating that. They're making new pathways that they can go down easier. The old pathways are getting pruned away. We know that about the neurons and the dendrites in the brain, right?
All part of neuroplasticity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the model you're building is getting there.
So is self-hypnosis a real thing?
Oh yeah.
Talk to me about that, because I'm the ignorant guy here who doesn't understand any of this and is trying to grasp what it is and trying to build a more accurate model of what is hypnosis, how could I use it, what will it do for me. So talk to me about self-hypnosis. Yeah.
Okay. So some people would say all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, right? Because all I'm doing is guiding you into hypnotic state. You're the one that's going there. But let's take me out of it, because I do have people that come in and say, I can't get there myself. I just can't. I've tried. I can't get there myself. I'm like, okay, no problem. You just need a friend to help you. And that happens to be me. I'm not a friend, but I'm the therapist. You know what I'm saying? So you just need a little help to get there. And that would be me. All right. But what I was, right?
I'm just thinking, it's sort of like masturbation versus having somebody else do it to you. There's a difference. You can do it.
Oh yeah. Some people can't though, right? They're like, they need a friend to help them get off. I don't know.
It's better with a friend. I'm just saying.
It's better with a friend. Yeah, no. And sometimes if you can masturbate yourself, it's better just alone, right? You get to make that choice. Anyway, back to hypnosis. Thank you for bringing it back to sex for us, Freya.
Always.
Yes, very dependable in that respect. So self-hypnosis is really learning a tool that you can use to put yourself into a pleasant state and to make suggestions for yourself. So a very easy one to explain is, let's imagine for a moment that you want to lose weight. All right? So you can just slow your breath down. Take some deep breaths, let them out. You could even take a breath where you stretch the lungs, where it feels really good. And you hold that breath for a moment, as long as you can actually, until then you release it. And you do that, 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 times. And that's stimulating the vagus nerve to put you into alpha brainwave states. So let's say you're in a relaxed state now. And then you start to picture the numbers on the scale going down and down and down. And that feels really good. And that's creating a joy state in your body. And you suggest to your body, the numbers on the scale are going down, and I'm going to shift what I'm doing, how I'm eating, to help those numbers go down. And perhaps even an image of a new way to eat comes up to you. So instead of reaching for the cookie, you decide to reach for a piece of bacon. And that feels really good, right? And so you picture yourself eating the bacon, how delicious it is and how it's good for your body and all of that, right? And then you picture the scale, the number going down. And then you take a deep inhale and an exhale and you continue about your day. That's easy self-hypnosis right there. Right? So if you're doing that yourself versus having me talk you through it, that's self-hypnosis. Super easy, super accessible. I think how it differs from guided meditation, it's a very fine line dependent on the guided meditation. Because I imagine people have that question. Well, I listen to guided meditations all the time. Yeah, it depends on what you're doing in the guided meditation. Are you working for change? Are you creating images for change? Are you helping heal yourself? Then I would put that more in the hypnosis category than the meditation category. But they're very, very similar when they study them in the brain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right.
What would you say to hard cases like me? For example, I have difficulty associating with my body. People talk about feelings, and I literally I have a hard time relating to that whole concept of I can feel this in my gut because I'm really a cerebral guy. I'm a thinker sort of guy. I have a hard time relating to my body. So even the experience of saying taking the deep breaths and calming down, I don't feel any different after taking deep breaths.
Okay.
So
do you feel different when you fall asleep?
Yeah. How would I describe that? Yeah. I can notice, if I pay attention to it, I can actually notice myself either being highly alert and then somehow it's slipped away and I might snap back to being highly alert again, but I do notice this drifting away from a level of high alertness, focused thought to the absence of thought.
All right. So similar. So if you can get in touch with that, then it would be a process of like, okay, can I practice that during the day? I mean, it may not be appropriate for you. You may not ever get there. Maybe you're part of the 15% who can't be hypnotized. I don't know. Like really.
I will investigate that because you have to be really curious.
But for people who, you don't need to feel that in your body. We know if you do certain types of breathing that it puts your brainwaves into an alpha state, regardless of what you're feeling. There's maybe Freya knows, or maybe Steve, the headband that you can use. What's it called?
I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it.
Me neither. It's really popular a couple of years ago. And I actually ordered one because it's like this little electronic headband that you put on, and it measures your brain waves in some kind of version. Obviously it's not like sitting in a doctor's office, but it's similar. And you play meditations, and then it tells you with sound, which is fascinating, where your brain waves are going. Okay, so let's say the sound is the one I tried was the ocean waves. And so the ocean waves get like stronger and, more exciting and everything if you're still in beta, right? But then they calm down. There's less birds chirping. They get like this calmer sense when you're starting to go into alpha, when they're starting to slow down. So this is a tool to help people learn how to meditate better. It's the intention of the tool.
Yeah, so that would be, it'd be sort of like that state where you're getting closer to sleep, getting closer to a trance state, but now you're getting feedback from a machine that says, the sound is telling you that you're getting closer to that state.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for someone who can't really feel it in their body, they don't know what relaxation is. They're like, no, I feel exactly the same if I'm going for a run or sitting on the couch, right? Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Then something like that could be a useful tool for you.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that you don't have to be a very physical and kinesthetic type person to go into trance.
Yeah, not at all.
And for example, I get a lot of, because of the nature of my work being specifically about sexuality, I get a lot of the I'm going to call them head cases, and I'm just joking around. I get a lot of the head cases, but people who are very cerebral and very not in their bodies, and that disconnect from the body is what's causing the problem that they're coming to me for. And it's fine. Yeah. It doesn't mean you can't go into trance. It doesn't mean you can't be more embodied. It doesn't mean you can't feel more pleasure. And it also doesn't mean you can't use hypnosis to heal. You can. Absolutely. It's just a different way. Like, you're not going to feel like, Steve, you as a very cerebral person, you're not going to feel the same thing as me, who's an extremely kinesthetic person.
Right.
So it just means that we feel it in a different way. And that's fine, because everybody has their own experience.
Yeah. And I would allow for change as well. Like learning those feelings better in the body.
Yeah. Don't just believe that because I'm this way right now that I'm like this for the rest of my life. Right?
Absolutely. You could do work on getting more in tune with it as a way to get out of your head some and experience more pleasure.
Freya gave me a smack upside the head, metaphorically, not too long ago. I had a metaphor session, my first and only metaphor session. And for listeners, what this looks like is it's a guided situation where a therapist allows you to free associate or enter a state that is similar to being in a dream, except you're totally awake, you're not hypnotized, you're totally awake, but yet I thought of myself as a very cerebral person, very literal. But when this session happened and he would ask me a question like, does this table need anything? An idea just popped into my mind, as it would in a dream state. So during this metaphor session, it was almost like stepping into a dream, except you're totally awake, you're totally aware of everything that's going on, and you're not being controlled at all, but yet you're tapping into subconscious stuff. And Freya told me, well, that's very similar to hypnosis. That's it, basically. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic to me.
Okay, so.
Yeah, but I'm going to look it up afterwards. I've never even heard it described that way. The metaphor session.
Metaphor session, yeah.
Yeah, fascinating.
So
I think that could be great for someone who feels like they're more cerebral, more intellectual.
Yeah, so based on what Freya, who is a hypnotist, told me, I would say to listeners that even if you think you're very intellectual, very analytical, and this can't possibly happen, it can. If you can daydream, then you can enter a state that is hypnotic, or that can work like hypnosis does. Yeah,
and to bring it down even further, when they really research our brainwaves, we go into a hypnotic state several times a day when you're driving, right? And they call it road trance.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're doing dishes sometimes, when you're just thinking about something, you're driving along, you realize you missed half the podcast and you got to rewind, right? Yep. Like that is typically a hypnotic state. When you're thinking about something and your partner says to you something and you're like, what? I didn't hear what you said. And they're like, I'm standing right beside you. I know, honey, I wasn't listening. I wasn't listening.
What's the difference between that and zoning out?
It's the same thing. Zoning out. You zone out. Yeah.
Okay, so I've always thought of it as not being present, zoning out, your mind is elsewhere. But are you saying that you can use that to your advantage in some way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. Because I always thought
we found the key. We found Steve's key. It's exciting, right?
Yeah, because I always thought that it was just not being present and your mind is drifting. So talk to me how someone could use that to their advantage.
Yeah, I would practice that state. If you're saying, okay, my mind is drifting, but let me give it a little direction here, right?
Ah, that's the key. Non-directed versus directed. Got it.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Would you agree with that, Freya?
Absolutely. One is intentional and one isn't. One is just natural because hypnosis is natural. Trance is natural. And if you want to use trance to your advantage, Steve, then you can learn how to be deliberate about it. And you can rely on somebody else, like a hypnotherapist. And it would be good to rely if you're going to go deep dives into your trauma. But if you want smaller things like habits or, for example, coming back to sex, some years ago, I did self-hypnosis to have my first nipple orgasm. And I was like, heck yeah, I want more of these. So
whoa, that's exciting.
That is cool. That's cool. Yeah.
So after that, they always felt good, but they didn't feel that good. So after that, I was able to have them with a partner because I used self-hypnosis, which was basically self-directed, guided stuff and trance to make it happen, and also to make sure it could happen with people. As long as they're doing the right things. It's not like it's automatic, like somebody just tweaks me and I'm coming. No.
Yeah, but you're saying that you could use the same thing for something a little less ambitious, like to enjoy even having your breast touched.
Yes.
Right?
Very much so.
Very
yeah.
Much so. Okay. So it's really, and I will say I do this when sometimes I'm drifting off and I'm like, oh, if I'm drifting off, I might as well think about something that's going to help me. So it's not even like I start out thinking I'm going to do some self-hypnosis. It's like, oh no, I'm drifting off. Oh, what are some of my goals? Shove them in there really quick, like, okay, great. So it feels good, like that type of practice to where you're directing your subconscious mind, you're directing good stuff for yourself, whether it's sex or not.
This talk sounds to me, this is my analytical mind again. It sounds to me that we're talking the difference between being on autopilot versus setting intention of where do I want to go with this.
Absolutely.
So
or how do I want my autopilot to be? Yeah,
I was about to say that. Is that autopilot, you can just hit a blue button and it just goes. Or else you can say, well, I'm going to hit the blue button, but I'm going to tell it what altitude, what direction I'm flying in because I want to get to a specific place. So,
yes.
So knowing that I can daydream is, hey, that's great. You can daydream, but now let's use your daydreams in order to reprogram parts of your mind that aren't helping you, that reprogram them in a way that could help you either heal a trauma or else enjoy sex more or get along better with your partner.
Yes. I would do a little bit of caution around heal your trauma because that may be a limiting belief of mine that's pretty hard to do by yourself without support.
That's my understanding as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But the other two, absolutely. You want to improve your basketball game. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Also keep in mind that when you say autopilot, your autopilot was set by somebody. It was set by your surroundings, your upbringing, your parents, your social circle, the people around you when you were a child and your upbringing. So even though it's autopilot, it's not like it's a random one. It's one that was set there by somebody else. So this is just a way of having more control and you can be more deliberate with your autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So another way of saying that is by default, your autopilot has been programmed by things like childhood trauma, media, schools, religion, stuff that may not be working to your best advantage. And we can reprogram our autopilot to allow us to habitually do things that are more beneficial to us and think in more beneficial ways.
Mm-hmm. But that's the question. Is it working for you? And if it's not, that's when you want to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
This is making sense to me, yeah.
Good. So to bring it back to sex, It's a sexy podcast. Right?
So there's one thing that we didn't talk about, and that was, do you use, Elizabeth, do you use erotic hypnosis? Like, I know we talked about using trance for better sex, and in two different contexts. One is present in the moment. The other one was like for healing work to just improve your belief systems and your responses. Do you ever use it deliberately for pleasure, or specifically for pleasure?
Do you mean personally or professionally?
Either one.
Either one.
Whatever's.
There was a time in my life when I discovered I could go into a conscious trance with breathing, right? Mm-hmm. During a sexual experience. And I became convinced that I should be a sex therapist, right? Like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? Because it is amazing when it happens, and you're like, oh, waves of orgasm. This is fantastic. Like this needs to be brought to the people, as in women. Okay. So I would say personally, I've had that experience. I haven't had a lot of clients come in to work on that specifically. And that may be because I'm more of a generalist. I am not certified in sex therapy. I actually have a sort of an unadvertised specialty in sex and love addiction, but that's a whole behavioral process. Those people actually, I think, mostly live in trance, right? Like,
oh my God.
Sex is the doorway. Okay, the sex is the doorway to that trance, and that's where they're trying to get to all the time. So that's when it becomes an addictive process and has really negative effects on your life. That's when we begin to look at it. But sometimes those people come in for the deeper healing, core healing, where we're changing beliefs about what they deserve in life and what they attachment beliefs as well, right? So that they don't go on one date and have sex with a person and then they're convinced that is their end all be all. They go into stalker mode. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So to be honest, no, I haven't really taught that in my practice, but that may be because I do not advertise myself as like a sexpert. I'm not a sex expert technically. And I have some, sorry about that. I have some licensing laws that I'm not allowed to advertise things.
Yes, because
that I can do
you actually have that therapy designation, whereas
I do. Yeah.
I don't. So I'm quite liberal with what I do.
Right, and it has some advantages to that to be licensed, but it has some disadvantages too, and some of that is a disadvantage. Yeah, but Freya, you are a sex expert, and so I'm assuming that you teach that.
Well, there's teaching it, and I'll be honest, a lot of people want me to teach them erotic hypnosis, and I don't. And it's because I don't think that they're coming from a space of integrity. And they want to learn how to control and manipulate people and how to be at an advantage versus use it with integrity.
Okay, so then I have a question about this.
Yeah.
Because when you said erotic trance, I immediately assumed for self-use.
No.
Right? So that you can improve orgasm or pleasure. But I think you're talking about something completely different.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Well, influencing others sexually through hypnosis, for example.
Oh, like Rob Jeffries. Do you know who that is? He's old school. Rob Jeffries.
I know the name. I haven't studied his work. But
okay.
But I know the name.
He used to run a course of like how to it's really about how to get women to date you. I watched his videos obsessively from a female perspective, and then occasionally I'd run into a man that was trying to do this by the way they talked. It was NLP.
The pickup artist community. Yeah.
Yes, the pickup artist community. Right. Yeah.
But that's where a lot of the inquiries come from, are people who are in that world of how do I get sex from more women, from hot, you know what I mean? And it's a manipulative context. Like, for example, here's a bad example of a
I don't get any of those calls, by the way.
Lucky you.
I know, right? Like, thank God.
So this man actually made the rounds of the hypnotic women globally. So he was trying to get a woman to do this thing, a hypnotist, and he wanted this is not an example of erotic hypnosis, but here's an example of unethical hypnosis. So he wanted he wanted a hypnotist, a woman, to come to his country. Mm-hmm. He was willing to fly her in, and he wanted to persuade his wife that I'm summarizing. It was this big thing, but he wanted to, and he was from a very, very conservative, fundamentalist religion type thing, very sex negative environment, but he wanted his wife to believe that giving him daily blowjobs would mean that it would give him super sperm and she would get pregnant.
Whoa!
So, yeah, because she didn't want to give him blowjobs, but he felt he deserved them. I know.
That would be an automatic delete if that came in my inbox. I'd be like, select you. Who can I refer you to?
You know what? This guy, though, was a master manipulator. So he didn't come out and say that. But ultimately, after a lot of things, so it was supposed to be almost like this fake fertility hypnosis. Like,
oh my God. No, I get much milder requests. Like, can you make him pick up his socks? Not give me blowjobs. I'm like, no, I can't even make him pick up his socks. Like, sorry.
Well, okay. So here's an example of a positive one. Okay. I have a female client who enjoys sensual massage, and she enjoys the trance and like sort of making her body more and more responsive to different things.
Okay.
And she started going with a friend of hers to this club. There's a club nearby, and there are these parties, foot fetish parties. Now, she doesn't have a foot fetish. She just went with her friend because it was like, well, I'll just check him out. I'll see what it's like. And she's like, I'm not into feet, but it is kind of cool to have these guys massaging your feet all evening. So I just like,
totally. I'm going to look that up too.
So it's not like
session and foot massages, foot fetish class. Yeah.
So she was like, I don't have to take off my clothes. I don't have to do anything, but I'm getting all this great foot massage. I said, well, do you want me to make it a little more fun next time you go? Because she was going to be going that weekend. And she said, well, what do you mean? So what I did is I used hypnosis during our massage session. I used trance, and I hypnotized her so that her toes and her feet were erotic to her. So that when her feet were touched and when her toes were massaged, she actually felt that in her genitals. Like pulsing, contracting,
I'm impressed
erotic.
with your skill level right now. Like, geez, no, I've never done that. I think I need a special training for that one.
So the funny thing was, years later, it's still going strong. So when her feet are massaged, she's like, oh God. And it's like really hot to her. And in a positive context, so if you have let's just say you have a partner who's like really into your bum or really into your feet or really into, I don't know, something that you don't care that much about, it behooves you to also enjoy the thing that they enjoy.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Got it. Okay. Instead of being like completely turned off, like would you stay away from the toes?
Like what's with
you can be turned on. Yeah.
Like, and then it makes it more fun because you can start to tease them by twinkling your toes, and it adds an element of playfulness to the relationship that before it was sort of like, oh, why does he like my feet? That's so weird. Now
got it. Okay. Yeah, and you can play that to anything, belly buttons or anal massage or all kinds of stuff. Yeah. Okay.
And if you have a revulsion, say you don't like giving blowjobs. Okay.
Wait, now, physiology of revulsion. Yeah.
Yep. I'm a big proponent of not doing things you don't want to do. At the same time, if there's no reason why you really don't want to be giving them except you don't like it. Now, what if you could have an orgasm from giving a blowjob?
Yes.
You could have one. Like as a woman, if you could, your body could get super aroused and you could get really turned on from giving oral sex. Wouldn't that be fun?
It would, absolutely. So I'm going to pause here for a minute.
Yeah. This audio will resume in a moment with content that is suitable for the public.
So why don't you say that again, Freya? Because I think that's a really important point for people.
Well, what I was saying is that if you enjoy doing something, it's going to make it so much better. So you can give the best blowjob in the world, or you can have all the mechanics of, let's just say you really like going down on your girlfriend or your wife or something. You can go through the mechanics of it, but if you really, really love doing it, it's always going to be much better. And if you think of it this way, nobody really wants you to just service them, but not like what you're doing.
Agreed. Energetically, it's very different if someone's truly enjoying that.
you love it, and you're finding it arousing as well, and you're having a really, really great time, that gives your partner permission to feel all the things and to really, really get into it, to really let go. And this goes both ways. So think about different things in your life that somebody else enjoys receiving or doing. Now, imagine if that could really arouse you as well. So it was no longer a service that you're doing for them. Now it's like this thing that you love.
Yes. Yeah.
Just makes everything way more fun.
Absolutely. You referenced this in one of your podcasts, The Wheel of Consent.
Yes.
Yes. Betty Martin, if people look that up on YouTube. And that changes that wheel of consent, right? If you're truly enjoying that. But to come back to your original question, I have not had a lot of requests for that because it's not really something I advertise or I'm allowed to, or, all kinds of that stuff. But I think that's a really good tip, really good path to pursue with Freya if someone is interested in doing that. Absolutely.
It's a good combination. Couples counseling with Elizabeth and then erotic hypnosis.
Right. Absolutely.
My mind is going in two different directions. One is Freya with her sexual hypnosis. And I'm thinking, if you're a couple or if you're in some sort of relationship where things are good, where you like your partner, you're having a good relationship, so it's not like there's adversarial stuff. There's not, you don't have contempt going on. So you're in solid footing, and one of the partners likes something, and it's not a horrible thing for you. You're not going, oh, that's disgusting, it's revolting. It's something, yeah, it's okay, but I don't get anything out of it. Then if you would like to get something out of it, erotic hypnosis is the avenue that could help you transition from, yeah, I do it and I'm okay with it, and transition to, I really like this. And then it becomes a win-win for two people.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how can, once more, we did this in the last show, but I really want to hear it again. How can people get in touch with you?
Yes, they can go to my website, drlizhypnosis.com. That's DRLIZ hypnosis.com. And when you go there, you'll see my podcast, which is called Hypnotize Me. And you'll see my blogs, my YouTube channel, all of that good stuff. And they can also schedule a free consultation if they're interested in working with me. I work online. I've worked online far before the pandemic, like for years and years. I've worked online. And so I do that as well as I work some in person as well.
And
wonderful.
Just to clarify, is you're not just a hypnotist. You're a therapist that has degrees and qualifications that are stackable and impressible. And
I do.
So
Yes.
You do a whole lot of stuff, including hypnosis.
Yes, I see hypnosis as one of the tools in my toolbox. So I work a lot with anxiety disorders, and we use cognitive behavior therapy as well as dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, which I find so helpful. I work with addiction, some sex and love addiction, like I said earlier. I work with insomnia. Oh my gosh, I love working with insomnia. So it's one of the tools in the toolbox that I use in my practice for individuals or couples.
Great.